We've had stories where there's been a death in the family, where the main person paying the bill died. There was no one else to talk to. Wedding was 15 days away. What are you going to do? Who are you going to talk to? To a bride who lost her father? You are actually taking over the most important day in somebody's life. After that doctor who delivered that baby, you're the second most important person.
Chetan Vohra, you've done Yuvraj Singh's wedding. There's so many celebrity weddings that you got into. Runs multiple companies and the main focus is wedding. So he is CEO and founder of Wedding Line.
You can't get scared of falling. Falling is a part of it. And that's how Wedding Line was born. That's how you built a 100 crore company.
Welcome to another podcast of the Event Studio. And today we have a very, very special guest. And I'm very proud to say that Chetan Vohra is here with us. And my relationship with Chetan is very, very old. It's been like more than 20 years. And I think so Chetan, when I joined Viscraft, was my boss's boss. So it's a very special relationship. I had a very great time. Today, Chetan runs multiple companies and the main focus is wedding. So he is CEO and founder of Wedding Line and also of Line Communication. These are two companies that I know. I don't know what the other companies are, but Chetan's focus is on weddings. And today, the topic of our discussion is business of forever. Why forever? Because everyone gets to marry once in a lifetime and the market is very big and opportunity is very big. So we want to discuss how weddings happen, what goes into the system. We will discuss how Chetan's journey has been and what is the future for people who plan to come into the wedding industry or the event industry. Chetan, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. If you can tell the audience how your journey has been. I know you are from West Bengal. You've got a very close connection with Kolkata. So I would like you to introduce how it started, your college time, how you get into this industry, how you got into this industry. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. Naveen, like you said, we've known each other for more than 20 years. I don't think we should focus on the more. Which part of more? They'll know how old both of us are. But the idea really was, I think it's been a fantastic journey. Love to start. I was born and brought up in Calcutta. My father was a big doyen of the tea industry. He really shaped what the Indian tea industry was across Assam and Duas and Bengal, and was quite well known in those days. Now it was evident that when you did school and then I did schooling in Calcutta, we had few stints abroad. We were in Mauritius for a few years. We came back. You had the opportunity to travel the world over and really see what was. But like every son wants to follow in his father's footsteps, having been from a tea background, having lived in tea gardens and been a part of it, we really realized that maybe that was the thing for me to do. I decided that while I had time on my hands, I said, why don't I try something in tea and see what one can do. So I told my father one day, I said, I want to be a tea taster. So he put me in touch with one of his friends who ran a very big tea company. He says that this boy wants to do tea tasting. Why don't you give him a shot? Mm-hmm. So after school, I used to go to this company called Jardines and I used to do tea tasting there. वो कर लिया हमने about एक साल तक, तब school खत्म हो गई. I took a gap year in college. I said, let me pursue this because I was enjoying it. Now, I worked with them for about a year plus. Spoke to my father. I said, I think I'm of the creative mind, that I want to do something in the creative field. My father said, get a degree under your belt. After that, you can do whatever you want. So we said, okay, that was theirs. I had a flatmate of mine staying with me, sharing a room, who had a cousin of his who used to work in Viscraft. So we used to hang out with a lot of these Viscraft boys at that time and all that. So one day they said, यार तुम लोग manpower करते हो, हमारे लिए भी कर लो. So he said, we are very happy to do it. तो हमने 2-3 ऐसे projects चालू किए उनके साथ. Choikar told me, he said, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to do this. He said, yeah, but till when will you be a volunteer and do this? Why don't you come and join us? So I like, what do you want me to do? He said, you come and join me and let's, come join Viscraft. And so I like, yeah, this is a great idea. So we all joined. It was good. It was, by then it was...
and this was in which
2000.
Year? 2000.
That was the year the Afro-Asian Games was to happen. This was all happening. And then this big recession hit. And when recession hit, उस time IFA भी चालू हो गई थी. Viscraft had started IFA. So a lot of the funds, whatever was coming from corporate work, was being diverted to keep IFA and introduce, because that was the year IFA was being introduced.
What was your role in Viscard?
I was an assistant manager of events. I was in charge of just an assistant manager getting in client servicing basically.
Client service.
Or client seene koi.
Okay.
So we had to find clients at that time. Everybody had left. They went to different companies. They went to the market.
It was a known fact, and I'm hearing first time from you, but it was a known fact that all the oldies and the biggies who were there that time, they went to, I think, to 360 degrees was the major pull, Times of India.
Yeah.
So they pulled all the main people from Viscraft, from all Chennai, Delhi, Mumbai, and that is where you were here, and then you took charge.
I took charge, and I think there was such a force that came in. Whether that force you call as the force of God or whatever, the support we got, the teams that came and joined. पहले साल में हमारे पास I inherited the company when they were losing about 2.5 crores of loss every year. I said, he said, boss, I need this to be 50 lakhs in profit, which means it was 2.5 crores that you needed to do with no team, no business, but कर करा के रात दिन हम वहाँ पे honestly 22 घंटे काम करते थे उस टाइम. तो किया, got this whole story, got this up to a mark. Went very happy for the board meeting. So us, we made 60 lakhs. Well, our target was 50 lakhs. It's very good. अगले साल क्या करोगे? अगले साल हम इसको 1 करोड़ लाएंगे. नहीं, अगले साल तुम 3 करोड़ लाओ. I like, how the hell? अरे करेंगे, साथ में करेंगे. फिर 22 घंटे काम किए. हमने अगले साल 4 करोड़ कर दिए जहाँ 3 करोड़ करने थे. अब अगले साल कितना करोगे? ऐसे अभी थक गए भाई, अभी थोड़ा कम कर देते, इसको 6 कर देते हैं. नहीं, इसको 9 करते हैं. There was no logic.
Yeah.
But that's how you built a 100 crore company.
Correct.
Because by the time I left, that company was doing 150 crores. I mean, that was the legacy at which. So today, I think that was the whole journey that started with the event manager from Tata Tea and Tea, from being a tea taster, chasing your creative field, doing that. And I think it's been a very fulfilling journey.
So after Viscraft, a new phase of your journey started, which was like weddings. Weddings have been big for you. I know you've done Yuvraj Singh's wedding. There's so many celebrity weddings that you got into. And then today, representing the government and getting, putting the Wedding India concept into place. If you can talk something about wedding, because I think so this is a segment where there is a lot of opportunities right now. The market is growing in 10, 15 years. This is gonna multifold. There are so many tech companies which have come in. There is OYO, which is like doing weddings.in.
Yes.
So everyone wants to get into this business. And as the topic of this podcast is business of forever, which will never die out. So if you can just describe your journey, the kind of weddings that you do, what goes into the weddings, what are the challenges, and how the future is.
And maybe
looking forward
start from as to what got you into weddings, because choosing wedding as a area, probably at that time when it was even today, I think by and large it's unorganized.
Yeah.
It would have been even more so at that time. For somebody from a corporate world to say कि मैं एक unorganized completely इसमें कुछ करूँगा, what brought you into that? And
so I'll tell you what started happening. We in 2009, and we had a great 2-3 years run with corporates. We were doing really well. Even line communications, when it hit the 20-25 CR mark in the first few years, and I was like, wow, I mean, this is great. We were doing really well, getting pitches left, right, and center, winning pitches with on creativity and costings and stuff. But I saw the birth of procurement. I saw, we came from an era of working at 17.65%, coming down to 15, coming down to 12, coming down to 8. When it hit 8% at that time, about 2011 or so, I started telling my teams that you need to start looking at alternate businesses, because I also came from a time when there was not enough work and we lived on supplier monies. We paid our salaries and our EMIs from just the revenue that came from the event. It was not enough to pay them also and to pay you also. So that was a scar that lasted. I said, I don't want to go down to those roads, but I can see it happening. because now your profits are coming down, the percentages are coming down. आप दो ही चीज़ कर सकते हो, या तो आप मार्कअप करके चोरी करो, which is wrong. You are spoiling years and years of goodwill with clients, or you do a new line of business and think about it. तो हमें एक फ़ोन आया. It was from somebody in Bangalore. Said, यार हमारी बेटी की शादी हो रही है. And I said, sure, we're happy to come and talk. So I went. They said, ये शादी हो रही है, ये करना है. We're a political family. We'll have so many thousand people. It's an event. So my dear friend who passed away in COVID, unfortunately, Minmoy Chang was also there. God bless his soul. I called Chang. I said, will you design sets for me for a wedding? He said, brother, never done it. I said, but you've done IFA, you've done all of that. He was a freelancing that time. He was running his own studio. So he said, let me research it. I said, research it. So I said, yeah, there is a book called, there's a gentleman called Preston Bailey. He does these beautiful floral arrangements. तो उसका बुक लेके आ तो पढ़ ले. He said, ठीक है चेतन, शाम को बात कर. तब तक मैंने बोला भैया ये अपॉर्चुनिटी है, क्या होगा? एक कॉर्पोरेट इवेंट में एक स्टेज लगता है, यहाँ पे 10 स्टेज लग जाएंगे, ये हो जाएगा वो हो जाएगा. हाँ जी, हम कर सकते हैं. Why? Because there were two things to it. There was a challenge and there was conviction. And we knew that हो ही जाएगा यार, क्या करना है. प्रोसेस ही तो फॉलो करना है, प्रोसेस बनाना, बना देंगे. So we decided, I said, yeah, we'll do it. It turned out to be a Bollywood wedding. The doula was a gentleman called Mr. Vivek Oberoi. And it became into this thing. So he's like, okay, we'll do it. Now, where did the confidence come from? हमने बिल गेट्स का इतने साल ये किया, हमने इतने आईफाज किए, हमने इतने बड़े बड़े शोज किए. इवेंट ही तो है, क्या फ़र्क पड़ रहा है, कर लेंगे. So we resourced a team, we brought people in, we did all of that, and the show happened. And it went off very well.
अच्छा.
And when they were writing my check out, they're like, what do we call it? So I said, you call it Wedding Line. And that's how Wedding Line was born.
अच्छा.
And we said that was the first real thing. But that gave us, again, the ignite and the fire gave us that thing. So we came back. And then we started hitting upon a lot of our corporate clients, owners. So we went back, and what we realized and we cracked upon was that from 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the or 5 o'clock in the evening, a gentleman like whoever ran a big empire was used to working with management consultants, McKinsey, EY, Deloitte, KPMG. He had a senior management who were all from IIMs, IITs, this, that, the other. They had a certain system, they had an etiquette, they had a thing. जब उनको अपनी बेटी की शादी करनी थी, वो 6 बजे के बाद होती थी, घर में होता था, वो टेंट वाला आता था,
उससे डील करना पड़ा.
वो करके बैठा होता था, सब कुछ हो जाएगा जी, हम तो कर लेंगे. जब काम होता था, अरे भाई साहब आपने बोला था ऐसे हो जाएगा, अरे ऐसे कर लेते हैं, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, अब ऐसे कर लेंगे. And there was this frustration in his eyes. Because his izzat was at stake.
Absolutely.
So he said, boss, we have to cash in on that izzat. That 5-letter word is that we are custodians of your izzat. That what you are used to between 9 and 5, we will give you between the rest of the evening. And we will tell you that you are in safe hands. Because we are experiential consultants. We are social wedding consultants. We do wedding consultancy. It took like fire. We started getting left, right, and center. We started doing work. We did some of the biggest weddings with people. Again, process-driven, timelines, flow charts, everything happening on time, everything ready on time, well in time, coming back. So that became the first nurture. In fact, I remember some of my dear friends in the wedding industry who are now a competition, but they would laugh and say, ये कॉर्पोरेट वाले आए, इनको शादियाँ करनी है और इनको लगता है कि उनको फीस मिलेगी. And I had a few people come back and say that, boss, you're mad, you're charging a flat fee versus तुम 10% बनाओ, 15% बनाओ, तुम्हारे तो करोड़ बन जाएंगे.
So this concept was not there before?
It was not there. It was not there. We started the concept of fee-based planning, and it took thing. And then more and more people started adapting it, saying that, look, this is a great way to do it. And that was the process behind it. So Wedding Line took off as a consultancy, grew into become a design firm, grew into becoming a wedding production firm. I think at the heart of it till date, we are very clear about what we commit, what we deliver, who we work with, who we don't work with. We've had some great clients. In fact, when we've had some of these big Bollywood people, I'm under contract with a lot of them. Unfortunately, don't want to mention, but the world does know the kind of weddings we've done. We went back and, a lot of them would come back. I've had a call at 11:30 at night from a very senior global name from India. We're doing an event for them. Where he called and he said, I need to talk to you. And we spent 8 hours in that boardroom before that with the family. And he called me back and he said, boss, my family is mad because I have a successful business doesn't mean I need to pay this kind of money. तू मेरे को बचा दे. So I said, आप कल सुबह के मीटिंग में मैं कुछ करता हूँ. तो अगले दिन मैंने बोला कि आप इतने पैसे क्यों स्पेंड कर रहे हो? दिखाने के लिए, वो गरीब को दे दो. So they were like, he's right. And it worked. And it worked very well. So as and when we develop relationships with these people and understand, I think, like our industry, we all stick together. The idea is also that these businessmen also stick. Those days were not, the YPOs were not born, the EOs were not born, but they were all known to each other. So they would call and say, अच्छा आपकी बेटे की शादी हो रही है, अच्छा ठीक है यार, तुम्हारे बेटे की शादी हो, यार इसको यूज कर लो, ये मेरा बंदा है. You went with a sense of guarantee. When you went with a guarantee, that door was not opened, it was opened and the red carpet was out for you. But the pressure on you was, अब आपको अपना नाम नहीं देखना, आपने उनका भी नाम देखना है. And that train became bigger.
Right.
That train became bigger I think COVID was the biggest time I think the toughest time, but the most reassuring time of our lives, because the kind of messages I got from our clients, do you have money? Is your staff okay? Do you want any money? Are you please don't cut salaries. Don't worry about it. Take money. 2-3 लोगों ने तो बैंक अकाउंट्स खोल करके पैसे भी भेज दिए थे हम कि बेटा रख लो, अभी हमें नहीं चाहिए, इसको एफडी में डाल दो अगर नहीं डालना है, बट अभी रख लो. हमको बिनतियाँ करके वापस पैसे देने पड़े बाद में कि सर हमें नहीं चाहिए अभी तक, ठीक है. ही सर नहीं, मेरे को दिखाओ कि कोई तुमने किसी को
निकाला तो नहीं है,
निकाला नहीं कि नहीं किया. So that has been, I think, the biggest measure in success of the thing. See, the wedding industry is a very emotional business. It's not, you don't have, you might get married a second time, but at that first wedding, you can't do a Jaimal twice.
But actually, उसी पे आने वाला था. From an outsider's perspective, if you look at it, we talk about flowcharts, the processes that you kind of design for a wedding as a consultant, and certain way of executing, the entire thing. But the wedding by nature, right? एक तो ये है कि nobody wants, everybody says मुझे कुछ unique करना है wedding में, right? So that's, I think, the overarching thing for, तो कुछ नया करना है, जो हो चुका है वो नहीं करना. Secondly, then you have these constant changes happening. It's more of a very, very emotional thing, right? So emotions by nature will tend to bring changes into the entire requirement as to क्या करना, अब ये नहीं, अब ये करना है. How do you deal with all this continuous change and try and still execute a process which is guaranteed to give you some kind of an outcome?
Again, experience. I think the biggest thing is that you learn. Yeah, a wedding has got a lot of parallel things that run to it. There is a certain sociology that runs. How does society behave? Society will behave very differently with me than it will behave with you, or it will behave very differently with us than it will behave with a noted businessman or a politician or a religious person who has got all of that. So you have to gauge the sociology of the equation that this person has in the market. That what is his name, his reputation, what is the scene. People have preconceived notions that अरे गुटखा वाला है तो उसके पास बहुत पैसा होगा और उसका बहुत lavish होगा. अगर उन्होंने कम lavish शादी की, सब बात करेंगे कि यार क्या हो गया भाई साहब, भैया ने पैसे नहीं spend किए. And that is a different track. If it's a businessman, he will be very, very careful about how he spends his money, because he knows the taxmans are watching him. He doesn't want unnecessary attention. He doesn't want people to realize his wastage.
The new age brides and grooms are complete. They're all paying themselves. This is a new thing that started. All these brides and grooms are paying their bills themselves. So they come back and say, so budgets have come down drastically because we don't want our parents' money. We want money we want to spend it ourselves. That's a different sociology that's happened there. There's a different thing. So there's sociology, there's psychology about how to understand your client. Who is this person? What is it? He'll only get comfortable with you and open up his deepest, darkest secrets when he's comfortable with you. So there's a certain psychology that goes to it.
There's an inbuilt moat into the business.
It is. It is. If you want to be a successful wedding planner, if you want to be that, these are things that you have to adopt. It is not about just the finance of it to know that आपको कितना spend करना है, मेरे पास इतने vendors हैं. वो तो आपको आज के डेट में Pinterest भी दे रहा है, Instagram भी दे रहा है, कुछ कोई भी digital platform दे रहा है. You look at Wedding Sutra, WedMeGo, anything for that matter. They don't need you. Why do they still need you? And I keep asking my people that today, that please understand, it is not, I don't pay your wages. You know, there's a very famous Henry Ford had actually said it, that it is not the employer who pays the wages, it's the customer who pays the wages. If you understand that आपके पैसे वहाँ से आ रहे हैं, and then you understand that this is a problem. I can give you some really crazy stories. We've had stories where there's been a death in the family, where the main person paying the bill died. There was no one else to talk to. Wedding was 15 days away. What are you going to do? Who are you going to talk to? To a bride who lost her father? To turn around and say, who's paying the bill? Knowing very well there was only a mother and her, not even a brother. So what to do? My entire team put out a hand and said, Didi, Rakhi bando. Aapki shaadi hogi. That was the payment. That one move got me to realize to say, this is the power that you yield today. This is the power of the wedding industry. You want to understand what are you doing. You are actually taking over the most important day in somebody's life. After that doctor who delivered that baby, you're the second most important person. You come even above the principal who we all said were our principals in school, were our gurus and our first bosses and all of these people. You come second to none. You come second to that doctor who is there. You come even above that Guruji who they might follow. That is the power of the belief of, so you have to understand your role. You have to understand how important you are in that. There's a father who's giving you his tijori ki chabi for his thing. And what does that tijori have? His respect. You cheat him, you're cheating, you're putting him in, compromising him in everything that you're doing. These are things that we get up and realize that day. So when I say there's a sociology, there's a psychology, there is so much of karma that is invested in this entire thing. You don't realize that. I've had people who come back to us and the end of it, whether it's a shake hands or whether it is a thing, you know, that this gratitude to say, you have been part of my most important part of my life. Today, after 16 years of wedding line, sometimes I meet people in events and parties and they're like, and you know, we had so many clients. We've had over 1,000 clients. It's not humanly possible. We're also getting old. And you might miss out. But I might say, हाँ हमने ये इनकी घर में शादी की थी, but it was very early days. So sometimes you can have to say, "Beta, do you remember you did my son's wedding?" And I said, "Yeah, how is it going?" "Oh, my grandchildren are today 12 years old and 10 years old." You know, so you realize that.
Right.
So there are so many stories that you are part of. I think that is been an important aspect.
Around how do you manage the processes? I think the answer that I got is that, you know, while there are negative emotions of a Fufa ji and a Jija ji always throwing tantrums and you managing it, there are lots of other types of emotions that you handle, and if you get yourself emotionally invested, the process will take care of it.
See, I think the biggest process in a wedding is timing and truth. If you know what you've got in terms of, you've got 6 months to deliver. If you don't work with those 6 months, you cannot do what you could have done on those 6 months in the last 6 days. It's not possible. So timing is very, very critical. Processes are very, very important. We have some stringent processes, documenting your meetings, following up, putting timelines, realistic timelines, getting the right set of vendors, doing your budgeting, doing your budget control, doing quality control, sustainability. All of these have got processes today. In our company and in every other company, everybody has now got into this thing of saying that there are huge processes that we all follow. But again, innovation, renovation, sometimes you innovate your own processes.
Right,
People have left
right.
our companies and gone and started their own and joined something. They've learned something, taken something, they've innovated and renovated those processes to suit themselves. So they really, I don't think there's a little black book that I can say that this is what it is and you can start at it. I think it's got to do with who you are, your processes. I think finance comes maybe third or fourth in my list. It might come as number one on somebody's list. वैसे ही कर रहे हैं तो पैसे के लिए कर रहे हैं, नहीं तो नहीं कर रहे हैं. हम कर रहे हैं तो इज्जत के लिए कर रहे हैं.
Right.
So there's a different process chasing izzat. There's a different process chasing finance.
Correct.
That's basically it.
So this is where you are right now. What ahead now?
So last year, early last year, the Honorable Prime Minister made a statement saying, "Wed in India." We are a very creative field. Everybody got very excited that, oh my God, no longer can we go abroad and get married.
Correct.
Everybody started saying, and then like I say, we are a very creative field. Some people even got up and said, "अरे मेरे पास तो phone आया था." So I asked him, I said, "मोदी जी ने phone किया तुमको?" He said, "हाँ यार, मेरे को phone आया कि बाहर जाओगे तो फंस जाओगे." So I realized that these were, it was just going completely crazy. Through EEMA, again, credit to Sumit and the wonderful NEC. They went back, we had dialogues, we did various dialogues, Sabas, a lot of people. And the platform of Wed in India was conceptualized that while we are going abroad and doing that, we can't stop that. Why don't we promote India as a wedding destination?
Correct.
And that was the big thing to do that. We've had various trade boards. So FICCI does a lot of work. They're a very old century plus agents thing with the government. They started off. They came back and did this thing with setting up a Wed in India Council. They researched met some people. I was lucky to have been approached by them, and then the government, we did some joint meetings, and the FICCI Wed in India Council was set up. And through that, we worked back with various tourism divisions across, not just the central tourism ministry, but various states, to try and work out a tourism policy, to work out a single window clearance, to work out all of that. Because now we are in that work is going on, and when that goes on, we will then go on to the next step, which is going to be inviting our global partners, inviting people coming on and doing weddings here. For that, we want it to be a red carpet that you walk on and everything is done for you. So we are currently in the process of identifying partners, identifying people who will be part of the Wed in India movement. It's like what Incredible India did for the tourism and travel trade, what Wed in India is going to do for the wedding industry.
You mentioned single window clearance. Weddings coming into India require clearance.
Any events that happen in the country, an event that happens, whether it's a wedding or not, have a whole lot of clearances. So those statutory government licenses and stuff like that require.
Right.
But there are so many questions that people ask. हम कहाँ जाए? अगर हम आगरा में जाएंगे तो कहाँ करेंगे? कौन से होटल में करेंगे? कौन सा ट्रैवल वाले को पकड़े? कौन से क्रिएटर को पकड़े? कौन सा डेकोर वाले को पकड़े? ये करने को. So we are trying to get into these little forums wherein we can say that this is it, and then maybe have even a point contact in our embassies and our various cultural centers abroad to get up and say that if you have a wedding in India, get in touch with us or write into the Wed in India website, and we will be able to tell you and give you all the information.
Interesting. So so government seems to have picked it up now, right? From a
Yeah, the government in fact initiated this entire thing. We are only facilitators for the government. We are all working for the government and putting this together. And there are, I think there are a lot of people doing a lot of stuff together. I think we did the first Wed in India meeting in a conference in Jaipur last year. We're going to be doing one now in 2025, possibly looking at finalizing it very soon. So it's going to be a year-long thing. But I think the journey for Wed in India, for the tourism division, for the hotel industry, for the event industry, the time is now. And in the next 4 years, up to 2030, the government with the Honorable Prime Minister having put out so many initiatives, I think the whole idea is to make, we are looking at tourism, and weddings are a large part of that, advocating about 10 to 15% of that entire, their entire tourism portfolio by 2030. And that's a very, very big responsibility that all of us have in hand. The entire event industry, the entire wedding industry, all the players. So the closer we work together, the faster we work together, this is something that we are going to be.
No, actually, I just wanted to share a trend with you also on our platform, Spalba. We are a B2B platform, right? But even today, without even making any effort of reaching out to a B2C segment, almost 60% of the leads that come from the platform are B2C, maybe 65% also. And increasingly over the last few months, lot of these leads are now coming from outside.
Right.
Because our platform is giving people that access to view the venues,
Yeah.
and therefore
No, I'll tell you something. India today is a global name. That whatever's happened in the last many years, we've come to a point where everybody wants us, everybody needs us. If you look at the aviation sector, everybody's looking bullish about adding more flights. Look at our airports. Jewar is coming up, not very far from where we are right now. Coming up, it's going to be the largest airport in Asia.
Right.
I mean, it's something to be proud about, to say that this is going to be the largest in Asia. So there's going to be a lot of trend. I mean, I was in both your hometowns yesterday at Nagra. The number of new hotels that are coming up there, the kind of rooms, the kind of revenues, the kind of things that are coming up there. They have organized the entire Taj as a facility. What are we trying to do? We are trying to get up and say, give us monuments. Give us things that we can maybe happen. I don't think the time is very far away where through your platform, through our collective industries, are we going to be in a position to be able to turn around and say that, you can click, you can book, you can execute. You just have to land up on this particular day, come with your guests, everything will be done for you.
Right.
I don't think there are very many economies in the world that are as robust as India that can allow this entire thing to do. And today, we are very grateful that the Honorable Prime Minister, the Chief Ministers, they are all allowing us and facilitating us. Sensibility of growth has to be there. I think one of the few things that we have to start looking at is not just andhadhun, koi bhi aa jao, kuch bhi kar lo kind of a thing. There have to be some segmented barriers of entry that are there. A lot of focus on skill development, a lot of things on that. Because if you want to play to the global audiences, I think that is something that we have to be very conscious of. I was asked yesterday at a summit in Nagra by somebody saying, and she's from Italy, she's a planner from Italy, and she said, why does the Indian planner never say no? They never say no, but they don't deliver. And that's very unfortunate. That's very unfortunate to have, because if it's the same thing that happens when we go abroad to a different country. You trust a partner. When the partner doesn't deliver, your client, everything is in trouble. And that's something we can't afford to do. So today, as leaders in the wedding trade, I think the most important thing to do is we need to look at barriers of entry. We need to look at skill development. We need to look at internal skill development, resourcing. These are all various aspects that we have to build, which is that, because we understand and appreciate that this is a young person's industry. There are no barriers of entry. कोई भी आ जाएगा. हर घर में शादी होती है. सब लोग, everybody is born a planner. That's what happens. Every family has got. हमने आज के डेट में फूफा जी को बदनाम करके रखा हुआ है या चाचा जी को बदनाम करके रखा हुआ है. The fact is, yes, this is part of our tradition that families get together. वो तो हो ही जाएगा. This हो जाएगा and जुगाड़ are some things that cannot be left with open aplomb in at least the wedding industry. If we want to grow forward in a thing, so if we get structured, if we get into a process-driven area and with the right amount of skill, which is there, I think the next 10 years we are looking. I mean, if you're talking about a $230 billion industry today, we are hitting double, triple those figures.
I heard in some chat that Rajasthan is the only place where weddings can happen properly. All the other states are still yet to evolve, or I don't know whether they are getting solved right now.
Well, that is why Wedding India is what Wedding India is doing is actually, that's why one of our state policies we're rolling out with people, working back with every state to do it. I was in Madhya Pradesh recently, and they were talking about some of their things. Now, Gwalior is a city of music. They've got fantastic places that are there, which are historical influences, some great lakes and things. Bhopal is there, which has got again some fantastic venues. So as and when these things are now coming out, because the state never realized that there was something called wedding tourism. We've taken it to them and said that, look, you can get these kind of people. I was doing an interview with a media house and they said, आप चंबल में जो हमारे डाकू के चंबल हैं वहाँ पे आप शादी करवाओगे. I said, till the day you associate Daku with Chambal, the wedding guy will not come because he comes with jewelry.
Yeah.
He comes with a whole lot of infrastructure. लूटने कोई नहीं आएगा. But जिस दिन आपने बोला कि it is a great landscape, it is there, it is promoted by the government, I have proper roads to go there, I have proper lighting, I have proper sanitation, all of that, of course we will go. We do it in Dubai. We do it in the Middle East all the time. You go to a desert to get married. Why do you go there? Because it's that. So the problem is that I think the state governments, wherever it is, now I believe that Odisha has got some of the best beaches in the country. Andhra has got some of the best beaches in the country, but in Vizag and all of that. No one has explored it. But so you say, I want to do a beach wedding. Indian planners say, go to Thailand, go to Sri Lanka, go. We have it here. But what we don't have here is what Thailand did 20 years ago, saying we are there for tourism. We have a tourism for, we will do tourism for anything and everything you want. Wedding tourism, health tourism, now it's retirement tourism, everything. There's partying, that is tourism for them. So they've woken up to the power of collective tourism. We are doing that now. We are doing that now with the Indian government getting up and saying, let's do it. Let's get people.
Nobody can put terrace rooms.
Well, who knows?
Yes, connecting to your earlier thing, like for example, what Incredible India did to tourism, like for example, Kerala was known as the God's own country.
Yes.
If each state can come up with their own concept, because like Uttarakhand is like a Dev Bhumi. So if each, and to do a wedding in a Dev Bhumi, because I know Triyogi Narayan Mandir, people go to get married over there. So if I think so, you are right that if the states can come up with their own positioning, and trust me, India is the only country where you will have 22 positioning as 22 states.
One of our big things is that we are also, in fact, working with Wedding India to see how do you do it. Every wedding contributes a few hundred tons of wet waste. Where does that wet waste go? How do you want to do that? Because आपको 5 साल बाद या 10 साल बाद, you don't want to get up and say that there is a mini Himalaya that you have contributed to setting up, which is a waste weight. How do you do that? So sustainable weddings again is something that the West is waking up to, which we are waking up to. We are trying to understand that can we do something like that. So I think the 10-year story is interesting. It is definitely a success. It's definitely going to be a great thing. But it's got a lot of very conscious work. And through your platform, I want to invite everybody who feels for the country, who feels for your brands, who think that you want to contribute and do something bigger and look at your 10 years journey. I think we have a place for you on our table as far as contributing to the Wedding India story is concerned.
Just wanted to ask you, because the landscape is changing so rapidly, I know it's very difficult to say what will happen, I don't know, few years down the road, but let's say we were to predict something, how the wedding industry will look like 10 years from now, what would be your take on that?
Well, I think given the journey in the last 10 and currently where we are, I think it's going to be great. There's actually going to be a huge explosion of creativity, of opportunities, of growth for the entire segment. Like I said, with India and with the government recognizing the wedding industry as an integral part of their tourism portfolio, it takes time for these things to come up. It's not going to happen overnight. We started it. We are the first people to have actually just now plotting this entire thing. It's like how cities are built. They weren't built in a day. That's exactly what we are doing currently. The focus is definitely long term. If you look at India's positioning in the global economic market as well, I think our journey is only just started. We keep telling people that, look, the next 10, 15 years, this is the place to be, with geopolitical conflicts everywhere else are happening. And if we can steer away from all of those, the wedding industry is only becoming bigger. There are people who, I mean, this is the one thing that doesn't run short of resources. As our population's growing, a lot of our population is younger. They are all to get married. There is only opportunity for us to do. Whilst the opportunity exists for people, I think since this is more an industry related thing, I think the sensibility of growth has to be there. I think one of the few things that we have to start looking at is not just andhadhun, koi bhi aa jao, kuch bhi kar lo kind of a thing. There have to be some segmented barriers of entry that are there. A lot of focus on skill development, a lot of things on that. Because if you want to play to the global audiences, I think that is something that we have to be very conscious of.
So I have one more question.
Yes.
This is because the podcast is through EEMA, and I see a lot of people not from the main metros now, but like for example, when we go to Punjab or when we are trying to build up UP and all, a lot of people tend to ask questions, ki, what will I get? So for me, like for example, and I'm sure for you also, it's like a service that you part of the EEMA, and it's an association which is coming together, getting bigger, so that we can do much better, so the problems are solved. So would you like to tell these people the kind of value that you get out of it, being a member of EEMA?
So I've been in the industry for 26 years. I think if I look at my phone book today, and I have about probably a few thousand people saved in my contacts, I can definitely tell you more than apart my personal contacts who are relatives and friends. Anyone and everyone who's been part of the industry today, who I've got on my Facebook, is somebody I've met through the industry and the EEMA. EEMA is doing a great job in getting people together. EEMA is doing a great job in becoming the collective voice of the industry. I think to expect an association to give you something, the association has a lot to give you. It will give you connections, it will give you direction, it will give you confidence, it will give you a voice. But it's up to you what you want to take out of it. If you want to be active, you can be active. If you want to be passive, you can be passive. The association is, it's a very big blanket that you can have. It can give you comfort, and you can also hide under it. That's basically my association. I think our journey with EEMA has been very fulfilling. I think we've learned a lot. A lot of the dialogues that we've had today, the government, I hear the EEMA name more and more in various ministry corridors with various government officials. Everybody today knows that there's an association which is there. And I think that association is that silent bond that we have in common. You and me might have a bond that was as past colleagues at Viscraft, but today we have another bond that we are also part of an association that we are part of. I think that's what EEMA does for us. I would encourage more and more people. I know a lot of people who are part of it, who are part of the industry and who are not members. Our strength is in numbers. When we go back to an industry and we go back to people and tell them that we are 10,000 members strong or 20,000 members strong or 30,000 members strong, it's actually a little sad to see that we are such a big industry, but we have very few members. I think this is the time that, like I'm talking about the next 5 years, and then thereafter the next 10 years after that, I think your time is now. Come forward, become a force. If Gandhiji walked alone to all the way to pick up the salt, and he didn't have those millions of people following him, people would have said, "Log to har din chalte hain. आप भी चलते हो, मैं भी चलता हूँ. हमारे पीछे कौन है? That's what matters." I think that's the biggest analogy I can give you. That I think we need more and more people to walk. That first person walking is EEMA. The people that follow are its members. So the more and more we force, the photographs and those videos we used to see that there were 4-point crossing and सब जगह से लोग आ रहे हैं उनके पीछे. I think that's what we need to do, and that's the power.
Right.
So before we wrap up, Chetan, just a couple of more questions. I've been intrigued by your journey. Explain the entire journey so well. Today, if you're sitting here and if you were to advise yourself when you were getting into, starting your career? What would you advise yourself sitting here right now?
See, I don't want to compare myself to the greats of Steve Jobs or anything else, but when you hear these things that are saying, like stay foolish, stay hungry, or all these sayings that have become, right? I think every entrepreneur has their own journeys mapped out. There are things like that. I mean, 20 years ago, if you asked me, would I have thought I would be here? I don't think so. I would have hoped to be here. I'm glad I'm here. I don't think I want to change very much because every success has taught me something and every failure has taught me something. We've had, and this is a big problem in the industry, we've had integrity with people. There have been people who've come, joined companies where there's a lot of dialogue happening on it currently. People come and talk about it, that, there are employees who scam people, who cheat people, who do this and all that. I had my share of stabs. I've had my share of people who've let us down to that. That also taught you a lesson. It taught you a very important lesson to get up and realize that, okay, you need to stand up stronger. You need to get up stronger. These are things that have happened. So I think every journey has had something or the other. I think it's been 20 years ago, I did never think that we would be prominent players doing weddings. I think the stars were in our eyes. We weren't clear what those stars were. We knew events, we knew corporate events, or we knew live experiences. We didn't know. We didn't know there was something called the experiential industry coming together. We didn't know that the hotel industry was ready to marry us and we were ready to marry the artist industry, and therefore we collectively were going to become one entire family. So I really think that I'm only happy and grateful to all my mentors who've been there, or my teams, my partners, my family at home, to really feel that, we've all stuck on with the conviction that it's going to get okay. Everything's going to get okay. At COVID, I remember doing Zoom calls wherein we didn't know next week whether that person would be there on that call or not.
Right.
Because it took 4 days or 5 days for a person to get COVID and unfortunately pass away. We had people like that. I had a call with somebody 2 days ago talking about somebody who else passed away, and he called me, and 3 days later he himself was gone. So these were things. So we've had dark days. We've had great days also. We've had successes. We've had things. I think it's been a great journey. The only thing is, we are grateful for the conviction. We're grateful for the and we will remain in gratitude and remain humble. I think that's all we need to do.
Well, I wanted you to summarize the story, but you have nicely laid down the picture, but I'll not let you off. So let's say if you were to write a book on yourself, what would be the title of that book? Now you cannot give me a story.
If I can, you can. I think, again, and I'll elaborate it, I think everybody realizes that, अरे वो तो लंदन में पढ़ के आए हैं या यूएस में पढ़ के आए हैं, उन्होंने ये कर दिया, उनके पास इनका हाथ था, इनके साथ था. I think everyone has got that power to do.
Right.
And I can tell you, I was very, very average as a student. I was very badmash growing up. I was very distracted. Even now, my teams keep telling me that, we know when you've checked out of when I think you might be sitting in a meeting, but your mind is somewhere else, because that's where it is. But like I said, it's been a great journey. So if I can, you can, for sure.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Chetan.
Thanks.
It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.